Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. My name is Miranda and today I am giving you my Clear Your Shit TBR, which goes between November 1st and December 31st. So this is a TBR for the next 2 months. Really exciting stuff. So this is for the Clear Your Shit readathon, as I just said. If you don't know what that is, essentially what it is a readathon to get down a TBR of some sort. So either your physical TBR, your Goodreads TBR, your yearly TBR, just to take one list that you have and just make it shorter. Start reading those books. And I will link the announcement video for this year's readathon down below. Mouse goes over what it is in a lot more detail, and she talks about the previous readathons. This is my first official Clear Shit readathon. I did one in June, which was like 3.5. So it was a mini one. This is my first full 2-month readathon. And this readathon contains 27 books. So I'm very excited and very nervous to get started. And if you can kind of tell down here, I have many physical books to talk about. That one doesn't really fit. And yeah, I'm really excited to get started. So before we get started about the prompts, I'm going to tell you about this character card that I made that I'm going to put up right around here. And these choices are important for some later prompts. So for one of the options is for your strength sun sign. I picked, sorry, you can't see him, but one of my kittens is hanging out next to me. For the strength sun sign, I picked the recommendation master because I always recommend Six of Crows to everybody, and that is obviously sorry, that was my computer, obviously the best choice. And that makes me the best at recommendations because it's Six of Crows and you literally can't go wrong with that recommendation. And the other prompts the other options just didn't really fit me. So recommendation master. For the weakness moon sign, I chose the problematic preserver because I have literally never DNF'd a book. There have been 2 books that I've read so far in my life that I have put off until finishing it later. And I will finish those later. One of those books is on this list. The other one, I'm just not quite ready to finish and tackle yet. That one I think is going to take some time. But I have never, just put down a book and said, I'm never trying this book again. I'm never picking it up again. This book is not for me. I believe that every book is worth getting through to the end. Now, do I finish every series? No. I have so many series that I've started that I have not finished and probably will never finish. But I at least finished the book because I usually feel like the end has enough payoff that feels good. Hold on. The last choice is for weapon, so Weapon Rising, and I picked The Power of Love because one of my favorite things ever is to kill someone with kindness. And The Power of Love just seems the same thing, like kill them with kindness, so I picked that. One of the options was Teeth and a rock with googly eyes glued on, which were both great options. But I went with The Power of Love just because, kill them with kindness, baby. Okay, so let's go ahead and get into the prompts. The first one is Gemini, and it's read a book with 2 main characters. So I picked The Fine Print by Lauren Asher. According to Goodreads, this book has 2 main characters, so I guess it does. There's Rowan and Zasha on the back. I bought this book back in August as a birthday gift to myself at a Walmart, actually. So it's been on my reading list for a while. I bought the physical book mostly because, let me tell you, it has a Spotify playlist, and the highlighted one is Flaws by Bastille, and Bastille is my favorite band of all time. So as soon as I saw that this has a Bastille song in it and it's recommended, of course I had to pick it up. So, Gemini, a book with two main characters, the fine print. The next prompt was Libra, and it was let someone choose between two books for you. And my two book choices were Atomic Blonde and Assistant to the Villain. And I let Aurelium Girly Brittany pick one of the books, and she went with Assistant to the Villain by Hannah Nicole Mayer. And I'm actually really excited to read this book. I love that this book has red end pages, regardless of what version you buy. It has red end pages, and it's a romance book. I don't think it's enemies to lovers. It's job. Like, she falls in love with her boss, and I don't think... Oh. The reason it could be considered enemies to lovers is because the boss is evil. So, we have an assistant who falls in love with the evil boss, which makes sense, because it's literally assistant to the villain. But I don't think they're enemies. So, I don't actually think this is enemies to lovers. I think he's just not a good guy. And I don't think that necessarily makes him her enemy. Anyways, really excited to read this. Thank you, Caffeine and Legends, for the book. The next prompt is Aquarius, which is read a fantasy book or a book with fantasy-like aspects. So I picked for this book From Blood and Ash by Jennifer L. Armentrout. I will be getting this book from the library, so I don't have it with me. And this book and the second book in this series are both on my list, but they're both in a place where I can swap them. So whichever prompt comes first, because there's an order that the prompts are going to be released, and I don't think it's necessarily the order that we were given the prompts. So whichever one comes out first, I'm going to read the first book, and then when the second one comes out, I will read the second book. So those two might get switched around, but they both fit the prompts, so it doesn't really matter. And I'm mostly reading From Blood and Ash because I have another readathon that I'm doing, and I need to read the second book. And I'll tell you more about it when I get there, but it's the main reason I'm reading From Blood and Ash. And I will get it from the library. The next one is Air Element, and it's to read a lightweight book. I kind of struggled with this because I was not 100% sure on what Mouse meant by lightweight, if she meant a physically lightweight, so like a small book, or if she meant a contextually lightweight book, so something that's easy to read, you know, comfy, cozy, whatever. So I picked 84 Charing Cross Road by Helene Hanff, and I think it is a small book, so I think it matches, like, the physically lightweight. If I had it, it would be physically lightweight. But I think the the content of the book is also pretty lightweight. So the content of the book, I think, is also pretty lightweight, so I think it matches both of those anyways, and I will be getting that book from the library as well. So the next book on the list is Air Signs. It's read a book with multiple perspectives. And I picked Blue Lily, Lily Blue by Maggie Stiefvater. I'm really excited to read this book because I loved the first two books, and I've heard that this book is the best out of all of them. So I'm really excited to get into it, and I know it's in multiple perspectives because the first two books were, and if this one's not, I'm going to riot, and I'm going to leave it on the list anyways, and I'm going to cheat and whatever, but it should be in multiple perspectives, so it's not really cheating. And I'm really excited to just continue the series and hopefully finish it eventually. The next prompt on the list is a free space, and this is where I put A Kingdom of Flesh and Fire by Jennifer L. Armentrout. So this is where I can swap it with From Blood and Ash. And the reason I needed this book on this TBR is because on another readathon that I'm doing, I need to read a book with the word fire in it. And this book was the only one that I could find that had the word fire in it that was anywhere near, like, something I could read. Another one was, like, I think A Kingdom of Fire. I think that's what it's called, by Sarah J. Maas and Thunder Glass. But that's, like, book 4. And I was like, there's no way I can get all of those like all of the Throne of Glass books in before I get to that book, and I couldn't do it. So I did the second book, A Kingdom of Flesh and Fire. Speaking of Sarah J. Maas, I'm really excited for January. In January, I am doing a month-long vlog where I only read Sarah J. Maas books. So I will be reading all of ACOTAR, all of Throne of Glass, and all of Crescent City in 1 month to prepare for Crescent City 3, which I probably won't actually finish in January because it comes out January 30th, and I just probably won't have time to finish it, so I'll read it in February. And I'm really excited. Anyways, back to what we were talking about. The next one is a surprise prompt. It's one of our mini bosses, and it's for our strengths. So if you recall earlier, I picked Recommendation Master for my strength sun sign. And so how I believe it will work is that there are going to be one prompt based on what choice you made. So there was 4 options. Since I picked Recommendation Master, I have to read the prompt based off Recommendation Master. If I had to guess, it's going to be read a book recommended to you from somebody else. Because, if I give such good recommendations, I should also listen to other people's recommendations. That would be my guess. But I have no idea exactly. The next book on the list is Taurus with Read a Book with an Aesthetically Pleasing Cover. And I picked The Fairy Bargains of Prospect Hill by Rowena Miller. I think this book is aesthetically pleasing. I love all of the flowers. I love the color of it and the way, like, you can kind of see in this light just the way that the gold stands out a little bit more. I think it's a gorgeous book cover, and I'm really excited to get into it. I also needed to read this book for another readathon. I needed a book with flowers or plants on the cover. I think it specifically said plants, but I think flowers are plants anyways. So I picked it. A few of these books, I'm kind of double readathoning them, and so I had to get them on this list because I had to read them for something else too. But yeah, plants or flowers on the cover for that readathon, and for this one, aesthetically pleasing, which I think it is. The next prompt is Virgo, which was read either a high stress, high stakes, or a low stress, low stakes book. I picked high stress, high stakes, and I went with Ninth House by Leigh Bardugo. I went to Goodreads, and Goodreads says that this was a high stakes book, high stress book, so I'm going with it. If I don't get highly stressed, or I don't think the stakes are too high, I'm leaving it. I'm not changing any of my books, because Goodreads lied to me, okay? Like, how am I supposed to know if a book is high stress or high stakes if I don't do research, and the research said these books are high stress, high stakes. So I'm going with it. If you think I'm wrong, whatever. Consult Goodreads. And I started this book back in September, and I think it's time that I'm going to restart it because I have no idea what's going on. And so I'm going to restart the book and read it now. And hopefully get further in it than I did last time. Last time I just wasn't really ready for it. I think I had too many other books going on, which I know you're probably like, you have too many other books going on now. But I'm ready for it now. And this is not the only Leigh Bardugo book on this list, so that's exciting. Hey, go Leigh Bardugo. And this book is on Kindle Unlimited, so that's how I'll be reading that. The next prompt is Capricorn, and it's read a book with a character with lots of ambition. So I picked Tomorrow and Tomorrow and Tomorrow by Gabrielle Zevin. Again, I went to Goodreads, and I went ambitious characters, and you know what book was on there? Harrow the Ninth. And I was like, I've already read that, so I can't really do that, because you know Harrow's super ambitious. And so I had to pick a book that was already on my list, right, and that I hadn't read. I mean, I guess I could have reread Harrow the Ninth, but not yet. So this book was on the list, and I was like, okay, it's on my list, it's on my TBR, so I'm gonna pick it. So again, if the characters of Tomorrow and Tomorrow and Tomorrow are not ambitious, consult Goodreads. Let Goodreads know. Tell them to take off the list. I don't know. According to Goodreads, at least one of the characters is ambitious. And I already own this book on my Kindle, so that is how I will be reading that. Oh, we're getting through it, guys. The next book is Earth Element, and it is read a heavyweight book, and I picked, if I can get her out, the Mindfuck series by S.T. Abbey. Now, this is technically 5 books, but I'm reading the whole thing as one book because it's in one book. One book. And it is both a physically heavy book, and it is a serial killer romance books. And I think, content-wise, romancing serial killers, pretty heavyweight. Because you know what? That's a lot of murder. So, I'm kind of excited to get into it. I've seen a couple things about it on TikTok, which is how I knew it existed, and it just seems like my cup of tea. So, the Mindfuck series, S.T. Abbey. Very excited. Oh, for this book, all of the short books, so each book of the 5 books that are in this series, each of them are on Kindle Unlimited individually. So you can still read it without the book. I didn't know that until I bought the book, so it's pretty unfortunate for me. The next one is Earth Signs, and it is to read a book with a brown, green, or earthy feeling cover. I went with The Darkest Part of the Forest by Holly Black. I've heard really good things about this book. Carrie Can Read especially said she really liked it, and I love Holly Black as an author. I loved the Cruel Prince series. I loved The Stolen Heir, so I'm really excited to read a Holly Black book that is not in this universe. And I've heard this one is super good, and I think it's shorter. And I don't know if you've seen the size of most of these books. They're all kind of long. So I'm glad to have some shorter books in there. And I will be getting this book from the library. The next prompt is a side quest, and it is to read a book from one of Rachel Aaron's DFZ series. I didn't know who Rachel Aaron's was. So they posted, I'll link it down below, the tweet X. I don't know, are they still called tweets on X? I don't know. The tweet that explained the series and kind of gave a little bit of information about each of them, and I ended up going with Nice Dragons finished last, obviously by Rachel Aaron. And I have no expectations of this book at all, and they're on Kindle Unlimited, so I was like, alright, I guess I'll give it a go. Give it a good old college try. The next book is Aries, and it is to read a book with a child in it. And this one was also kind of hard, because if the blurb didn't say anything about children, I was like, I don't know if there's a child in this. This book could have a child in it, and I had no idea. So I ended up going with the book I couldn't get to stand up, The Language of Thorns by Leigh Bardugo, because at least one of these short stories is a short story about a child. Right. It might be Ayama and the Thornwood. I don't remember. One of these, though, definitely includes a child. So I went with it, and this is my second Leigh Bardugo book. I think I only have 2. It's a gorgeous book, by the way. And I think this is the last book I need to read, if you don't include The Lives of Saints, to completely finish off the original Grishaverse series. Because I've read, obviously, the Shadow and Bone trilogy and the Demon in the Wood comic. And was there something else? No, I think that was it. But I haven't read, Rule of Wolves, but that's not really part of the original series. Anyways, doesn't really matter. Has a child in it, so it works. The next prompt is Leo, which I was very excited about because I'm a Leo. And the prompt is to read a book with an animal in it, and so I picked Miss Percy's Pocket Guide to the Care and Feeding of British Dragons by Quimby Olson. And this book obviously has an animal in it because dragons, and dragons are animals, and I needed to read a couple books with dragons in them, and this one has dragons, so I'm really excited to read it, and I think it's 300 something pages, so not that long, but not that short either. So yeah, that's that. And I will be getting it from the library. The next prompt is Sagittarius. Read a book that you feel will teach you something. Now, I tried to find a nonfiction book for this because I do think fiction books can teach you something, whether it's teach you something about yourself or just kind of, if it's a historical fiction and there's, like, actual history in it, like, you know, like, this is not a historical fiction book, but like Assassin's Creed, right? A lot of the games are based in reality, so a lot of the historical events in reality actually, in the game actually happened. And so you could learn from it. But I did try to pick a nonfiction book, which was actually kind of difficult because I didn't have that many nonfiction books already on my TBR. But I did have this one. It's called A Night to Remember by Walter Lord. And it is a book about the Titanic. And I think it's... Oh my gosh, you would think I would know this. I think it is about someone who was on the Titanic when it sank, obviously. And back in middle school, I was obsessed with the Titanic. I watched documentaries about it. I read books about it. Anything that had to do with the Titanic, I was all about. And so this kind of brings me back to middle school Miranda and my Titanic fascination. And I'm really excited to read it. And I'm really hoping it teaches me something about the Titanic. The next book on the list is Fire Element, and it is to read a book with a red cover. So I went with, I run out of books over here, Daughter of No Worlds by Clarissa Broadbent. Clarissa Broadbent. Oh my gosh, I don't know anything. Because this cover, red, obviously, and it's also been on my bookshelf. I tried to mostly find books that were on my bookshelf that I physically owned, because I kind of want to get into reading more physical books a little bit. I do love reading on my Kindle, but if I'm going to buy physical books, I need to read them. And this I also bought in August, when I was having my little, birthday shopping spree. So, excited to read this. I know that she has another series, A Serpent of Wings and Night, I think, on Kindle Unlimited, and people loved that, and I think a lot of people think that series is better than this one, but still. I'm excited to read it, excited to get into it. Yes. Ooh, the sun is coming out, guys. And I am sorry if you hear a bunch of, crashing noises or any of that. It is my kittens. If you're gonna ask me, why haven't you shown us your kittens yet? They don't really like being picked up quite yet. They were feral cats I got out of my parents' garage, so I'm just kind of slowly loving on them until they kind of feel better. I might be able to pick up Johnny if he comes back out again, but Jackie, definitely not. But they're very cute, and I'll put in a picture right here of them. So there you go. Johnny is the black one and Jackie's the orange one. The next book on the list is Fire Signs, which is read a book that was a hot topic at any time, and I picked Fourth Wing by Rebecca Yarros. So for all the people who heard me say that I needed to read books with dragons in them, and you didn't immediately think that I thought of Fourth Wing, and you were like, Fourth Wing, it definitely should be the book you read, because it has dragons in it. Or even if you said Pride of the Orange Tree, which I've already read, so that one got eliminated. This is why I put it on later, so it's fine. I got Fourth Wing on there, guys. Don't worry. I'm finally gonna read it. And I already own this book on my Kindle, so that is how I will be reading it. And I'm kind of scared, excited. I've heard you either love it or you hate it. There's really no in between, so I hope I'm on the love it side. The next prompt is the second mini-boss, and it is for your weaknesses, which mine was Problematic Preserver, which is where I don't ever DNF any books. And I have no idea what kind of prompt you can get from someone who never DNFs books. I don't know how you can fit that into a book. Because, I don't think you could be, DNF a book. What does that even mean? I don't know. So, I don't even know what kind of prompt that's going to be. So we'll find out. The next prompt is another free space, and I picked A Torch Against the Night by Saba Tahir, because I really loved An Ember in the Ashes, and I'm really excited to read A Torch Against the Night. And I'm really excited to read it and to get into it. And yeah. Really Girly Winter says it's really good, so I'm ready. The next book on my list is Cancer, which is read a book with a mom character in it. Again, really difficult, because unless the blurb talks specifically about a mom, like, how are you going to know if it has a mom character in it? Luckily for me, Forged by Blood does talk about her mom, because it talks about how her mom dies, and how it's, like, her fault. You know what? If someone is there to die, that means that they're a character, and that they had to exist. So, if her mom dies, that means her mom existed first, and to me, that sounds like a character. I'm hoping she at least says a couple words before she dies, so she feels more like a character and not just like an event. But even if it is just so happens to be an event, I'm still taking it. Because her mom had to have existed before she died, making her a character. And this was the only book that I could really find that mentioned a mom. And I'm not about to try and find another book, so I'm leaving it. All of my choices are locked in. Even if they end up not matching the prompt, I don't care. Doesn't matter. Should have good read better, I guess. But anyways, talks about a mom, Forged by Blood. Higbor Oko-san. I didn't say that earlier. The next book on the list is Pisces, which is read a book with fish or ocean themes. I thought that was kind of weird, ocean themes. I think she could have just said with a fish or the ocean, but whatever. I ended up going with Darkwater Daughter by H.M. Long. This is a book about sailors, and they're going to the winter sea. Do I care that the winter sea is iced over, so it's not really, like, a moving ocean? No, I don't. Does it sound cool? Yes. There was another book that I wanted to read, about, like, sirens that I thought sounded really cool. If you guys know mermaid books, siren books, more piratey books, let me know. Give me recommendations. I really want to know. But anyways, Darkwater Daughter, H.M. Long. Sailors. Ocean. The next book on my list is Scorpio, and it's to read a book with a mystery in it. And I picked The Murder Game by Tom Hindle. I bought this book when I was in England, so I am 99% sure this is an English author. And I am also picking this book for the other readathon, because it needs to have a body of water on it, and that's a river. And rivers, or it's a lake. It's a lake, because there's a lighthouse. Lakes, bodies of water. So there we go. And it's a mystery, and it's 373 pages long. I have a lot of really long books on here, which I'm concerned about. But we are going to do our best. And I'm excited to read a murder mystery. The next prompt is Water Element, and read a book with a blue cover. So I went with Alone with You in the Ether by Olivia Blake. And I'm going to tell you the main reason I own this book. Are you ready? It's because there's a bee on it. And if you didn't know, bees, favorite animal. I freaking love bees. And look how many bees there are, guys. Bees! There's so many bees. I love them. And I've heard really good things about Olivia Blake. And I'm really excited to read this book because I want to know if there's any significance to the bees at all. Or if they're just cool. And this book has 281 pages. That's nice. So a shorter book. And I'm really excited to give this one a go. Oh, Holly Black blurbed this book. I mean, so did Chloe Gong, but speaking of blurbing, I found a video by Books and Layla where she read books from authors that blurbed her favorite books, and I started keeping track. So if any book has a 4-star or over, I try to figure out who blurbed it, and then I write it down, and I have a little list, and I see, who I really like, or which authors blurbed most of my favorite books. I think Alex E. Harrow's winning right now, which is I feel like he's winning, or she's winning in a lot of those places, because I think she was also winning on Books and Layla's, so I don't know. We're almost done. The next one is Water Signs, and it's read an emotionally intense or character-driven book, and I picked The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue, and according to Storygraph, not Goodreads, Storygraph, this is both emotional and more character-driven than plot-driven. And I've been wanting to read this book pretty much since I got onto Book Talk, because this was everywhere, and I haven't read it, and I'm really excited, and I bought this book at Target when I was also doing my birthday book buy celebration, and I really liked Vicious by V.E. Schwab, so I'm really looking forward to this book, and I just heard it's really good, according to Book Talk. Second to last prompt is another free space, and I've picked Signs of Cupidity by Raven Kennedy. I picked this book because it's really short. I think it's like 150 pages long, and I needed a really short book on my list. And I loved the Plated Prisoner series by Raven Kennedy. And so I was like, if I loved the Plated Prisoners, I'm hoping to love Signs of Cupidity. It's definitely adult. I think all of Raven Kennedy books, like, kind of are. And it's a why choose romance, which I've never read before, and I'm a little scared, but excited to go into it and see what it's all about. And it's short. That's the big selling point. It's short. And the last prompt on our list is the boss battle, and our mystery prompt is based on the weapon we chose, and the weapon I chose was the power of love. And I'm really hoping that it's a romance prompt, because I just got this romance book from this, like, mystery, like, Blind Date with a Book. That's what they're called. Blind Date with a Book. And it's, like, one of those romance books, and I'm really kind of intrigued to read it. And so I hope that it's romance related, so I can just add that onto my list. Okay, so that was all 27 prompts. I am reading 11 physical books, and I'm really excited to get into them, and I'm really nervous because I have never read that many physical books on a TBR. I read most of my books on Kindle, so I'm really excited to get into these and just kind of start getting through it. And once I read all 27 books, I would have definitely hit my goal for the year. As of right now, my goal is to read 100 books this year, which is absolutely crazy. And yeah, I'm just really excited to get started. I only got a couple days left. So once again, the link to the announcement video is down below. And yeah, I think that's everything. I will see you guys next week for my October wrap-up. And I hope you guys have a wonderful morning, noon, night, whatever it is, wherever you are. You think I know how to say that by now. And I will see you guys next time. Bye!